Муджер, оказывается, обновленно отправил, да?
Да.
Вы
Сейчас.
приняли, да? Вы примите, пожалуйста.
Куда он отправляет?
Вы ему скажите, пусть в WhatsApp отправит.
Сейчас я напишу.
Так, я принимаю всех.
Двадцать часов.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chinara Айтбаева. I am from Kyrgyzstan. I represent Public Foundation Nash Vek and External Aid Monitoring Committee. Thank you everyone who joined today to our side event, discussion of swapping debts of poor and developing countries in exchange for green projects. Developing countries are currently facing a critical debt situation. Debt servicing has increased by 50% over the past 3 years, widening the financing gap for development tasks. Instead of... Вы почему не двигаете, Анна? Я уже на 3-м слайде. Instead of directing money to development, poor and developing countries are paying off debts. We propose to discuss ways out of the debt crisis and propose specific solutions. Let me introduce our agenda for today. After me will speak Alisher Moydunov. He's an External Aid Monitoring Group member. His main point of speech, data for Africa countries. And then after Alisher will speak Neve Mujere. He's a researcher in climate change issues. He have published work in the subject and presented papers at international conferences. His main speech, benefit sharing, win-win situations, etc. He represents Environmental MGT Trust Zimbabwe. After Mujere will speak Anna Rычкова. She is also External Aid Monitoring Group member. Her main point of speech, data for Southeast and Central Asia. After Anna will speak Barkat Ulahmarov. He has been working on this campaign at national and international platforms for the last 20 years. And he has arranged and led many national and local level advocacy against debt and poverty in Bangladesh. He represents Coast Foundation. His main point of speech, debt increases the poverty and obstructs national progress. I thank everyone who responded to this topic. 18 people said they would like to act as a speaker of this on this topic. As you can see, around 44% from Africa region, around 44% for Asia region, and around 5% from Central Asia and Caribs. Most participants noted that this topic is relevant, and about 67% responded that their country is experiencing a peak of foreign debt payments. According to DAC list of ODA recipients, 45 countries least developing countries, 35 countries lower middle income countries. According to the classification of the World Bank, 25 countries low income countries, and 51 countries lower middle income countries. About 70 countries are facing peak foreign debt payments. It's about 30%. All speakers will speak now. I think everyone is participating here who shares the idea of exchanging debt for green projects. We may not support the actions of some country authorities in relation to civil society to shrinking space for CSOs, but we support our countries. We want development for our countries. To ensure that no one is left behind, opportunities for development must be provided. Then everyone will be given the opportunity to speak, maximum 2-3 minutes, to share your ideas and recommendations for states, donors, and CSOs. And please answer the following questions when presenting. What are your specific proposals and recommendations for donors and states to exchange debt for green projects? And what should civil society do to make debt swaps for green projects effective? Thank you very much. And now, please, Alisher, you can share your presentation.
Hello, everyone. As mentioned, I am Alisher. I am also a part of this monitoring group. Now I will. A minute. I will. So today, as you see, so we are going to discuss about the debts and how to negotiate about our debts and in exchange for green projects. So my topic is debt for nature swaps, a sustainable solution for Africa. As you see, African countries have a lot of borrowings from different financial institutions and banks, and we are going to talk how to approach and to come to a win-win solution and fostering sustainable development and protecting the natural world. So At this time, many African nations face a significant debt crisis, which stops their ability to invest in essential service and development initiatives. So, overburdened by debt, these countries are often unable to prioritize environmental protection. As a result, debt accumulation, factors such as economic shocks, political instability, and unsustainable borrowing practice have contributed to the growing debt burden. Next, limited resources. The debt crisis leaves limited resources for crucial development needs, including environmental conservation and sustainable development. Next important point is economic constraints. High debt levels can constrain economic growth, making it challenging for countries to invest in long-term solutions for environmental protection. As you can see here, so this is a table of debts by African countries. So I will not read every country here. You can see this huge amount of debt for African countries. So starting from South Africa, this is 263 billion US dollars. And the total external debt for these countries is approximately 933 billion US dollars. This information from World Bank. So we are offering that our projects will be in exchange of green green projects and importance of these projects. So the first one, biodiversity hotspots. Africa harbor a significant proportion of the world's biodiversity, including unique and endangered species. Second, climate change mitigation. Intact ecosystems play a crucial role in absorbing carbon dioxide and mitigating the impact of climate change. Next, ecosystem service. Forests, wetlands, and coral reefs provide essential service like clean water, food security, and flood regulation. Last one, sustainable livelihood. Environmental conservation is essential for supporting local communities and their livelihood, particularly in rural areas. So, debt for nature swap mechanism. This process involves a creditor, debtor country, and conservation organization. The creditor agrees to forgive or buy back a portion of a debt in exchange for the debtor country's commitment to environmental conservation. First, debt relief. Debtor country receives debt relief, freeing up resource for development and conservation. Second one, conservation investment. Debtor country commits to investing in conservation project to protect its natural assets. Third, sustainable development. The swap promotes sustainable development by aligning debt relief with environmental protection. So here we discussed about benefits for African countries. So Debt for nature swap after numerous benefit for African countries, including debt relief, increasing funding for environmental protection, and improved economic prospects. First, reduce the debt burden. Debt relief frees up resources for essential development initiatives, including education, healthcare, and infrastructure. Next one, increased funding for conservation. The swap mechanism provides additional funding for conservation projects, enabling countries to protect their valuable natural assets. Enhanced economic prospect is also important. So investing in conservation can boost tourism, create jobs, and improve the overall well-being of our communities. Challenges and considerations. So while the debt for nature swap offer a promising solution, there are challenges and considerations that needs to be addressed for successful implementation. The first one, transparency and accountability, ensuring transparency in the use of funds and accountability for conservation outcomes is crucial. The second one, community engagement, involving local communities in conservation planning and implementation is essential for sustainability. The next one is long-term sustainability. The focus should be on building long-term sustainable conservation programs that can continue after the swap period. Capacity building. Investing in capacity building for conservation professionals is necessary for effective management of protected areas. So in the practice, we have some successful cases. This is we can mention 3 countries in Africa. This first one is Madagascar. Madagascar has already practiced a debt for nature swap. So as you can see here, by the effort, as a result of this effort, Madagascar's debt for $2 billion were forgiven, and they have here a huge project. As a result, they protected areas, approximately 4.7 billion hectares. This is duration of this project, 15 years. Key outcomes: protection of critical rainforest, support for sustainable livelihood projects such as ecotourism, sustainable agriculture, and enhanced local capacity for conservation. Next country is Mozambique. Here, amount of the debt which was forgiven, $22 million. And Mozambique directed this project to national park, approximately 7,500 square kilometers, duration 15 years. So key outcomes: preservation of marine biodiversity hotspot, sustainable fishing practice and ecotourism support, and local community training and capacity building. Next country is Belize. As you see here, Belize has got a lot of benefit from this project. Debt which was forgiven is 553 million US dollars and for 20 years. So as a outcome, so we can mention here conservation of coral reefs and marine ecosystems, support for sustainable fishing and ecotourism, local stakeholders training and capacity building was also mentioned. So scaling up that for nature swaps. So we can mention here 4 main points. The first one, policy support. Governments can implement policies that encourage that for nature swap and create favorable environment for these initiatives. Next point, investment partnership. Financial institutions and private investors can play a crucial role in providing funding for conservation projects. Next point, capacity building. Investing in capacity building for conservation professionals is essential for effective project implementation and management. The last one, monitoring and evaluation. Establishing robust monitoring and evaluation framework is critical to ensure the effectiveness and sustainability for these programs. Here we will talk about partnership and collaboration. Collaboration among stakeholders, government, partnership, conservation organizations, and financial institutions, and local communities. So interaction among these stakeholders will be implemented within these projects. The last one is conclusion and next steps. So as a result, we can conclude and we can concentrate on some points, such as expand existing programs, scaling up successful debt for nature swap program. Next one, develop new initiatives. Researching new initiatives and partnerships to expand the reach and effectiveness of these initiatives approach. Next, promote policy support, advocating for policies that encourage debt for nature swap and create a favorable environment for these programs. The last one, to invest in capacity building. Investing in capacity building for conservation professionals and local communities to enhance their skills and knowledge. So thank you for your attention. This is the end of my presentation. So if you have a questions, or if something is unclear, so please, floor is open.
Alisher, maybe after all
Yes.
presentations, comments and okay.
And questions, okay.
Now Mujera. Please
Just a
share
minute.
his presentation, please.
Anna, will you share or me?
Yeah, I can, but it is old presentation.
I did not get new one as well.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I sent the revised one to Nash on the WhatsApp. Nash.
Anna, please share old one.
I shared the old
Mhm.
one.
Okay,
They were
just a minute. Um, can you see? No?
yes, I can see.
Presentation, yes?
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, I can see it. Yeah, hello.
We can
Is this
start.
is that right? So thank you so much. Welcome, colleagues. Yeah, my name is Nefa Mjere. I am at the University of Zimbabwe. Okay, so I'm looking at the swapping of debt with some green projects, taking the angle of what are the dynamics, what are the causes of indebtedness in the African context. So one of the major challenges of developing countries that they face a lot of environmental problems. They are on the receiving end of biodiversity loss, climate change, and also they are into poverty, which means that they are heavily indebted. So it's like a vicious cycle of poverty where they need to save their debt and they receive, which automatically reduce their fiscal space. But because of climate change, which doesn't respect the boundaries and also how poor or rich you are, they are heavily affected, though they contribute less to the cause of climate change, but they receive more of uh, the adverse effects. So you find out that about 58% of the developing countries, 34 of them are into a very high fiscal crisis. And about 22 of them have stopped paying debt and have gone to the framework where they are exchanging some of the green projects with their funders or the donors. So this type of agreement is also being spearheaded by the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. So in terms of just classifying the developing countries as the third world or developing, it has some bearing on their level of poverty and also their high rates of external debt. So the IMF and the World Bank are the ones which are pushing for the swap debt relief for green projects framework, whereby they are offering some conditional loans and are advising the developing countries to sell their green, pristine environments. And now the question can be, why are the developing countries heavily indebted? We find out that most of the developing countries are producers of raw materials. And the developed countries are the processors of the raw materials. So they take the raw materials from the developing countries at a cheaper price and process them and sell the finished products at higher prices, which most of the developing countries cannot afford. So the causes of indebtedness can be internal or external. So there are some external forces which are beyond their control, like climate change. They are heavily impacted by the adverse of droughts, floods, heat waves, and the tropical storms, which they cannot sustain, or they are very less resistant, so that they end up borrowing money for medical facilities so that they can uh, improve the livelihoods of their people. So in such a situation like the previous presenter said, it leads to high exploitation of the pristine environments, natural resources. We've got like Mozambique, whereby 95% of the GDP is related to the debt, where there is mining and the forest exploitation of forest resources. In Zimbabwe, about 60% of the GDP is constituted by the debt. So the resources are exploited, exported, and the people are rather left poor. And there is this issue whereby heavily resourced communities are the most poorest communities in the world. Just referring to most of the developing countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo. So the question is, who benefits from this framework whereby you've got this dirty servicing with the green project? To a less extent, developing countries also benefit temporarily when they have these extreme events which are rapid and also enormous, like flood, the drought. They borrow money so that they can relieve their people, and so it's rather a temporary measure. The outbreak of diseases, they borrow money so that they can import some medicals for the people. Just a temporary measure, but in the long run, it's not sustainable to live on borrowing. So it's not a win-win situation, but a win for those people who provide the funding, and a lose for the people who do borrow. And so, like what King Solomon said in his book, the Proverbs, the way he said, the poor is a servant of the rich, and the rich always milks the poor. So, in conclusion, there need to be a framework whereby it becomes a win-win situation. Why exploiting the natural green environment in the developing countries and taking the raw materials? The companies or those people who offer the funding should process the materials in the host country, and so that they can be valued. It's a mechanism of reducing the debt. So my conclusion is that we need a new framework for debt servicing, not with the green project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mujere. So, next, Anna Rычкова will have her presentation. Anna, you are already demonstrating your.
Yes. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Let's start. My name is Anna. I'm from Kyrgyzstan. I'm team of Chinara, and I'm member of External Aid Monitoring Group, and I represent the civil sector, and I'm maybe volunteer basis in this event. And next slide. As Chinara said, 45 countries, least development countries. In this slide, you can see 33 countries in Africa, 8 in Asia. My region, which I represent, is Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Cambodia, Laos, People's Democratic Republic, Myanmar, Nepal, Timor-Leste, and Yemen. 3 from Caribbean. Caribbean 1, Pacific 3. And this slide can show you gross domestic product per capita, GDP in Central Asia. In Central Asia, it is 6 countries, and we have one leader, Kazakhstan. And but GDP or low, and it's growth, but not enough to get closer to development country. GDP from 1,500 to 14,800 US dollars in 2023. It's low. And this slide, you can see GDP in Asian countries, and 8 countries have low-level GDP, and 2 countries is leaders, Singapore and Brunei, and all 2 regions development countries and poor. This slide can show some problems, big problems in Central Asia, which can be not corrected. Both of them about water resource, which occurred in Central Asia. First, destruction a glacier in Kyrgyzstan during the development of the Kumtor gold deposit. Kumtor is the largest high mountain gold deposit in Central Asia. And the second, this is left side, the disappearance of the aerial sea during the development of land and the construction of hydroelectric power station under the USSR. In addition, to depth country of this region have problems that may be exacerbated by the impact of climate change. In this slide, we can see about financial institution. We can see increase the resource commitments since 2020 and 2021. It was double jump to 100 billion US dollars for World Bank Group, and triple jump to 300 billion for financial institutes and regional development banks. Most likely, this is due to situation in the world after COVID-19, military conflicts, and the state of budget of poor and development countries. Next slide about financial institutes. This is net flows. And we can see that double increase in net flows since 2012 to 2020, 10 years about or over. Financial institute from 27 to 16 billion US dollars, and World Bank Group from 18 to 40 billion US dollars. Next slide. It is rich countries use 6 times more resource, generate 10 times the climate impact than low-income ones. Extraction of the Earth's natural resource tripled in the past 5 decades, related to the massive build-up of infrastructure in many parts of the world and the high level of the material consumption, especially in upper middle and high income countries. Material extraction is expected to rise by 60% by 2060 and could deprive effort to achieve not only global climate, but biodiversity and pollution target, but also economic prosperity, and human well-being. In this slide, we can see that developing countries paid a record 443 billion in public debts payment in 2022. And in the 24 poorest countries, total debt service cost will rise by 39% in 2023 and 2024, according to the latest edition of the International Debt Reports. Record debts levels and high interest rates are driving many countries toward crisis. And as I can, I present you some recommendations. Recommendation for international financial institutes and donor countries. Number one, focus on restructuring and debt of the poorest and developing countries, as time will be lost and the backlog will be even higher. Number two, provide transparent information about loans and the amount of profit and loans taken into accordance the stating of the US dollar. And number three, as an opinion of restructuring of the debt of poor and developing countries, consider exchanging debt obligation for green technologies. Recommendation for government of poor and developing countries. Number one, direct efforts to develop export potential and attract investment. Number two, provide transparency of debt, service report and the loan project to civil society. And number three, look for an opportunity to restructure external debt through the introduction of green project with the participation of donors and civil society. And recommendation to civil society. Number one, provide support to the governments in actively promotion action to restructure debt and attract investment. Number two, actively participate in monitoring external debt and project implemented with loan funds. And number three, effectively interact with international financial institutions and donor countries to access the current debt situation. Thank you very much for your attention. I am done. And next,
Thank you, Anna.
I can give word to Maruf.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? I think you can hear me, right? Okay, so my topic is the public debt, which actually increases the poverty and slows down the national progress. And I will explain this with the example of Bangladesh. First of all, I want to give you a global situation where you can see that between 2020 and 2023, within these 3 years, globally, I mean, across the globe, 165 million people fell into poverty because the debt servicing crowded out the social protection. I mean, that means actually that when the poor and middle income countries, when they pay the debt, I mean, the interest of the debt, which is called debt servicing. So it actually overtakes the investment of that government in the health, education expenditure. So this is a very big burden for the governments that they cannot afford to invest in education and health. Next slide, please. So you see, there are some scenario here in Bangladesh. So what we are doing in Bangladesh. So in this year, we have the national budget, which is already declared in the beginning of the July, which is like 68 billion US dollars. It's a huge budget. It's, I mean, in comparison to the poverty and the lifestyle of the citizen in Bangladesh, the budget, the national budget is a huge one. This is not a poor friendly budget. This is a very ambitious budget and very expensive budget for us. But still, you can see that the target for the government for revenue collection is $47 billion. For the $68 billion, they are targeting to collect the revenue from the people of Bangladesh is $47 billion. So there is a deficit of the budget because they are going to spend the money, but they don't have the money. And so they are going to take a loan. So from where the loan will come, they will borrow money from the domestic resources, like from the banks and other resources. And they will also have a foreign loan of $8 billion for this implementation of the budget. So already we have the loan, the cumulative loan for Bangladesh is $141 billion. And on top of this, we are going to have another loan of $8 billion so that we can implement our budget. And what will happen if we take this loan? Already this year, it crosses the interest of the loans. It already crossed the line of $1 billion. We have already paid $1.05 billion as the interest, which is called debt service, which is 117% higher than the previous year. Next slide, please. So with this loan, what is the per capita loan in Bangladesh? Every citizen has already debt is like 1,275 US dollar already. So it's a huge burden for the people of Bangladesh. Next slide, please. So I'm going to tell you that how this debt is increasing poverty in Bangladesh. This is for an example that Bangladesh government is paying like $1.228 billion every year for the electricity subsidy. But in the name of subsidy, they are not actually spending this money for the people. In the name of subsidy, 80% of this subsidy money, they are paying as the capacity charge of the private electricity companies who are contributing to the national grid of the power and electricity. They are taking away the subsidy money from the poor people. And recently, IMF, International Monetary Fund, they have given a loan of $4.7 billion to Bangladesh with some conditions. And what are those conditions? They said that stop the subsidy of the electricity. Let the people buy the electricity with their own money. So what will happen? The electricity bill for the citizen of Bangladesh will be raised by 240%. That means if you are paying $100 now for the electricity of your electricity use, for the same amount of electricity use, you will have to pay $240 from within next 3 years if the government stops the subsidy. And IMF also increased prescribed the government of Bangladesh to increase the VAT, that value added tax on every commodity and services in a rate of flat 15%. Whatever you buy from the shop, whatever service you take, you will have to pay 15% VAT, which is actually going to the revenue of the government. And the contribution of this indirect tax is 65% of the total revenue for the government. So I'm saying this because this is how actually the cost of living is increasing for the citizen. because they are paying extra money for the indirect tax. They are going to pay extra money for the electricity. They are going to, and when the price of the electricity rises, everything, I mean, the cost of every commodity rises because everything needs electricity for production. Next slide, please. This is already shared by Anna somehow, and also Alicia shared, so I'm not going to explain this one. This is actually how developing countries are actually under the debt, and this is the scenario, like the total, this information is from the World Bank. So like the total debt is like $29 trillion. Even it crosses the billion marks. It is now in trillions. So next slide, please. So what are we going to demand? What are the way forwards? So we want to say that it should be redistributive justice. What does that mean? Because you know that the countries which are developed right now, they have extracted resources from the countries in Africa, in Asia, for centuries, like in 17th century and 18th century, through colonialization, they have extracted the resources. So now we are going to say that now is the time for compensating what we have extracted from these countries. Now you should repay. You are not in a position to give us a loan, but this is your responsibility because you have taken away the resources. So now it is your responsibility to pay it back. So this is called redistributive justice. And we also demand the climate funding, because the countries who are affected by the climate change are not responsible for the climate change, because it is again the developed countries who are responsible for the climate change. So again, it is their responsibility to finance the climate affected countries because they are the one who emitted greenhouse gas. And we need more grants for implementation of the SDGs, because if you really want to reduce the poverty, you have to finance. If you I mean, it is the UN agencies, it is the other financial institutions of the world. They have their commitments for reducing the poverties from the world. So they have given us the SDGs. So it is again their responsibility to eradicate the poverty and invest in SDGs. So then they need to give us more grants instead of the loan. And you know that there are war across the world, and we must be able to stop the war and creation of the refugees, because it is really creating indebtedness of some countries who are taking, shouldering the migration, because it is again the developing countries who are taking responsibility of the refugees of the world. So we really look forward to a poverty-free planet, a fairer world to live on. So these are my recommendations. So thank you very much for listening to me. And if you have any questions for clarity, you can ask me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maruf, for your presentation. So we have finished our presentations. Now, if you have questions or anything to comment, so you are welcome. About all presentations in general. Any additions, any questions?
Алишер, зачитайте рекомендации. Можете открыть, да? Поделиться.
Just a minute. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
So uh,
С самого
coming
начала,
from
с самого начала прочитайте вот это первое предложение, очень важно.
okay. Let's read the recommendations here. Many developing countries suffer from overlapping climate and economic crises that are exacerbating hunger, poverty, and debt. Asia poor number more than 155 million, up to 67.8% million since the pandemic, according to the ADB. Debt service payment will reach a record high in 2024. Nearly half the world's population now lives in a country that spends more on servicing its foreign debt than on investing in health or education or development. We, the representative of the side event, discussion of swapping debts of poor and developing countries in exchange for green projects, recognizing our concern about the situation with the external debt of some poor and developing countries. We call states, international financial institutions, and donor countries. First, jointly identify specific project for exchanging that for green projects. Second, conduct work to build the capacity of all stakeholders. The third, provide a forum for discussion and exploration of new initiatives and partnerships to expand the reach and effectiveness of these innovative approaches. The fourth, resume discussion on national strategies and strengthening development projects. 5. Financing the CDGs. 6. Apply the principle of the development effectiveness, inclusive partnership, transparency, and accountability, result orientations, democratic ownership, leaving no one behind. 7. The world must stop the war and the creation of refugees to make the fairer and poverty-free planet to live on. 8. Developed countries must compensate the historical debt, resource extraction from LDC and developing countries for centuries to UN structures and international organizations. The first, help organize platforms for discussing debt exchange projects. The second, to discuss national strategies and strengthen development strategies, taking into account the recommendations. The third, adopt strategies taking into account debt exchange. So we can continue further on. Нарджа, объясни то, что это в течение недели или 10 дней может
Да, да,
отправить.
да, 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 да.
So, dear participants, so if you have any recommendations, any suggestions, you are welcome right now. Or you can send your recommendations or suggestions within 10 days from now. Robert, are you going to tell something?
Yes, of course. Good morning, everybody. I'm Robert from the United Republic of Tanzania. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to commend the good job done by yourself and the recommendations you have just laid before us. We second those issues recommended so far. So I just want to make that comment. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So, as we mentioned right now, if you want to have presentations, they are reachable. We can share, and also you can. We will be expecting some recommendations from you, and as we have just read, so they will be directed to world to international organizations who who can make a decision. Please send your recommendations and feedbacks about these presentations, and also in general about these initiatives, which will be very beneficial for our countries. Any feedbacks, dear participants?
Dear colleagues, we had 4 speakers. Alisher Moydunov, he told about us about African countries and debt situation in Africa countries. And Neva Mujere, he told us about
21 часов.
Zimbabwe situation, debt situation in Zimbabwe. And then we had Anna Rычkova. She told us about debt situation in South Asia and Central Asia region. And Maruf Barkat from Bangladesh, he told us about Bangladesh debt situation. It's very good presentations. Thank you very much. And colleagues, if you have questions and comments, please, we have a few minutes to listen your recommendations. Okay, I think this theme, this topic is very difficult and very specific for specific organizations. And thank you very much to our colleagues, and thank you very much to everyone. And as Alisher said, we will receive your recommendations until during 10 days. During 10 days, we will include in Google Disc document, and you can add your recommendations. Okay, thank you very much for your participation, and see you maybe next time. Bye.
See you.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much too.
Thank you, Maruf, Mujera, Alisher, Anna. You did great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you again.
Yeah.
See you.